Hey guys, I'm Iffy, one of your co-hosts. Thank you so much for tuning into the Get Paid to Live podcast, where we explore how to intentionally design a life where you live first and get paid second. Whether you're an entrepreneur, you work for someone else, or you're just curious about how to create your dream life. In these episodes, you'll find the inspiration, the tips, and the motivation on how you can navigate that process through our honest reflections as new entrepreneurs. We have such a juicy episode today, and I can't wait to dive in. But before we do, we want to take a few minutes to tell you about a new end-to-end recording and podcasting platform that can help you find your dream audience and customers called Riverside. It has such a beginner-friendly interface, and it's super intuitive even from the first time that you go in. This way you can spend less time tinkering with fancy editing softwares and spend more time clarifying your message, what actually matters. It's powered by AI to cut out speech breaks, create clips automatically, and transcribe your videos. So no more manual captions. These are just a few of the many features. Personally, some of my favorites are the high quality recording features, the magic clips, the captioning, and the teleprompter screen that comes up when you're recording. We've used a high quality recording to host 2 international guests virtually, and it was so easy for them to join, set up. All they had to do was press a button and they were brought into the studio at the max quality for their computers and audio. You can even record up to 4K and adjust the audio pre or post production to make it sound like you're in a studio. I love using the chat features, the script, and the teleprompter to stay on top of discussion points. And it's not just for podcasters. If you want to edit long or short form video for Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts, or even host a live stream, it's got you covered. They have so many fun features to play around with. You can even add in customized branding and animate your captions so they move when you're speaking. And lastly, with the magic clips feature, we're able to make 10 plus pieces of content from one episode in literally just 1 second. I'm not kidding you. Press a button and it creates these different pieces of content for you about the juiciest parts of your episode. So if you're ready to pull the trigger and get your content out there with a frictionless editor and recorder, be sure to use the code IFOMA, which is IFEOMA, to get 15% off your paid plans. And biggest of all, thank you so much to Riverside for sponsoring today's episode. Without further ado, let's get into today's conversation. So if you probably clicked into this video, you are feeling like there is something more for your life. You're feeling like you're not really destined for this 9-to-5 traditional life. There's more. You can't explain it, but there's more to the picture and you don't feel like everybody else. You have this energy that you don't know what to do with, nor like how to express it. There's times where you feel like you want to build a community, build a brand, build a product, but you have no clear direction. It like feels like the life that you're living right now is not it, but you don't know how to start on the life that you want to live. In today's episode, we're going to show you how to take actions toward being that entrepreneur, towards being that creator, that founder, even though you feel confused, even though you don't know what to do next. We're going to break down how that can actually look in your day-to-day life and what we've done to successfully exit the employee life and get closer towards this entrepreneurial, founder, creator, visionary lifestyle that we've always dreamed of having since I feel like we were kids. And if you find this conversation helpful, be sure to share it with a friend and be sure to follow us on Spotify and YouTube, and let's get into it. So I know I have all this energy. I know I can do more. I know I'm not meant to live this sort of like mediocre lifestyle, traditional lifestyle. What do I do next? How do I get closer to that? Because, you know, I might still be surrounded by people who are not the vibe, who are doing the normal path. I don't really have a lot of reinforcement around me. So it's hard to get started when you have never lived that kind of life and you don't know what it entails to be an entrepreneur, to be a founder, but you want to get closer to it. Like, what do you do? What's the rule of thumb?
Just to think of it like this, you have a goal in mind. You have a place you want to go. And there are 2 things that are necessary in order to get anywhere. You need to have energy and you need to have a direction to go in. So energy is what allows you to move from point A to point B. And the direction is the path that you follow in order to get to your goal, get to your destination. And you have half the equation. I think a lot of people, they don't even have the energy.
Yeah.
You know, I think most people, when you're getting started, you don't know, you see the mountaintop, but you don't know how to get there. You don't know the path. And I think that's just universal. But there's also like a lot of people who don't even have the energy. So I think if you have the energy and you have the ambition or desire to I want to see what it's like up there.
Yeah.
You know, even if you don't necessarily know how to do it, you have half the equation.
Yeah.
But then the question becomes like, okay, in conditions of uncertainty, how do I pick like what direction to go in? Like a lesson you'll hear a lot of like entrepreneurs talk about is having a bias toward action.
Yeah.
And I think like a fundamental principle is you're not going to figure out the path by sitting and trying to by map. Yeah, like
existence.
Contemplate about it or read books about it or buy maps about it. You know what I mean? Sure, all these things can be a little helpful.
Yeah.
But they aren't the most effective source of information.
Yeah.
The best information you can get is from reality. And the only way to gather information from reality is through action. You need to just go into the jungle, like just go down the path. Like having this bias toward action is critical. But then still it's like, okay, what do I do? What action do I take? What do I do? A rule of thumb that has been very helpful for me is just going toward discomfort. And I think there are several reasons why this is powerful. And I'll just talk about two of them. So the first is the things you're comfortable with and familiar with. The result of all those things are your current life. And so if you just keep doing the things that are comfortable and familiar, the result of that will be your current situation. It's not going to be anything different. So fundamentally, if you want something different, you're going to need to do things that are unfamiliar and uncomfortable. Going toward discomfort allows you to go into that space of actions. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Because you want to get out of it, so you're just gonna do everything
exactly
under the sun to do that.
And I would say the second reason why it's beneficial is if you feel like this tension or friction or discomfort towards something, odds are everyone else or many other people in a similar situation as you also feels that friction. Winning is actually very simple. You just have to be more willing to be uncomfortable than all those other people in a similar situation. And most of the times people, even though they have the energy, they still can't surmount that discomfort. And so they do nothing and they just stay in the same situation. And
that just reminds me, like, even if people have the answers, like a lot of us have,
they read all the books, they know,
they've read everything, they've done everything that you need to consume on that end. But even times when they think they're confused, when they have the energy, but they think they're confused, but the answers are actually right in front of them. Like I always just think about like working out or exercise. It's kind of like everybody's researching the new tricks or whatever, but the answers have been around and there's no secret to
losing weight, for example, or getting healthier.
Exactly. And it's like, but we're still going to be searching for everything but the answer, just in hopes of having some magic.
We're always
solution.
looking for some shortcut or tip and trick. And, these things can be helpful when you're on the path. Like once you've trekked into the jungle on the journey toward the top of the mountain.
Totally.
Like the shortcuts can help you in those, while you're in pursuit.
Yeah.
But when you haven't even started, if I find myself... at this river or this like stream, there's a tree that fell over that I can walk across and shortcut the journey like that.
Yeah.
Sure, that's going to be helpful when you are in that situation.
But you need to be in the
situation.
But
you need to kind of take action in order to be in that situation.
We assume, even in flight, like in process, that it's not supposed to be this uncomfortable. And I think that's where people stop as well. So there's people who have, who don't have the energy, where it's like easy to compete. But then there's also the people where they have the energy and the answers, but they kind of stop in process because they think that it's not supposed to feel like this bad. But I think when you find peace with that discomfort, you win against so many other people because, it happens all the time. Like we look at people who have more money than us or who are more successful, and we just assume that they don't feel the anxiety that we feel, the shame that we feel, the, oh my God, cringe that we feel. But they feel it too. They just do it anyway. They just do it with this discomfort. I think we were talking to this other couple, and one of them was asking me about content, and I've been doing content for a long time, but more seriously, I would say for the past like 2, maybe 3 years, but like
where I'm like, okay, I'm a creator, you know, and not just her, but people ask me all the time, like, you know, when does it stop feeling so like cringy and embarrassing? And like, it does stop feeling, you know, as bad as it does as cringy as it does in the beginning. But there's always times where you look at your stuff and you're like, that is embarrassing. Or like, I don't want to post this, or this is like, it feels revolting. Your body wants to reject that feeling, but I just do it anyway. Like, I think the girl was asking me, she's like, so when did you start getting comfortable like just being this person? I was like, yeah, probably like a few weeks ago. And she was like, oh, like I was not expecting that answer, because it had already been like a few years. And so it's like, I think the discomfort is just a part of the process. Actually, I don't think it should ever stop.
If you're continuously trekking into uncharted territory, you're always going to be uncomfortable. That's kind of like what you're signing up for with entrepreneurship.
100. Like it is the pursuit of discomfort. It's really continuously. And honestly, I mean, I might be biased or just like really into it right now, but like I do feel like that is sort of the purpose of life as well. Like we're not when we are comfortable, this is where you end up in situations like this where you're like, I know there's something deeper. It's like almost like you're trying to ignore it, but you can't. And I think that's where comfort leads you. It leads you in this like mediocre middle where you're like, this is good enough, but I will always feel this burning desire, this unanswered thing in my life, in my brain. And I don't know about you, I would rather just be like uncomfortable and being like, at least I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, rather than kind of be safe and hide and be in this comfortable middle, but know that I have never tried, or that I, you know, will have regrets later because I never did the thing I was supposed to do. So, you know, I just feel like discomfort is actually the goal. And that is probably how you answer a lot of the questions that you have in your head right now. The uncomfortable option is usually the one that brings a lot more answers and clarity than the comfortable one. I think all the time.
I like this do it anyway mindset. It's like, just do it. Just do Nike kind of vibe. I guess like a final thing that just came to mind when we were talking is a lot of times we say we're going to do the uncomfortable thing, but it's like always tomorrow. It's never today.
Delay it.
Yeah, just delaying it.
Yeah.
And I think it's better if we flip it. Like we can be comfortable tomorrow. So it's like right now is the time to be uncomfortable. It's time to kind of do the things that allow us to grow, so that tomorrow we can be comfortable and say, at least we tried, and we can live without regrets. We can look back without any regrets. But today is the day to be uncomfortable so that we can look back and know we don't have any regrets.
I honestly feel that a lot, because I think for me, I'm not somebody who necessarily resonated with being disciplined and like, you know, bro mindset. Like that wasn't something that was natural to me. And I don't know if it's natural to a lot of people, but it was harder for me I think the hardest part actually of me starting this entrepreneurial journey was not the work itself. It was just like who I was as a person. I had to like flip my habits, my lifestyle, everything. And I wouldn't say I'm like super lazy or I procrastinate that much, but I do have this tendency towards like fun and exciting things. And I always, in a way that's comfortable, like that's the comfortable option for me. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that because it's boring, or I don't want to do that because it's too hard. And, you know, as an entrepreneur, or you're building your own thing, you don't have a choice sometimes. So what you need to get done, you just have to get it done, because you are the only one responsible for the progress. So one trick that I would, you know, tell myself is, you know, kind of like just do it like for 5 minutes, or just do it for this amount of time, just to kind of like make the discomfort at least in a burst. Because I knew even after, even if it was just 5 minutes, after that 5 minutes, I would feel proud that I chose the uncomfortable thing for even 5 minutes. And most times I ended up doing that thing longer, and then I would do that hard thing for like 2 hours, 3 hours, and the next day I'd be like, okay, like it would actually motivate me to do it again the following day. So it's funny because you're supposed to like look back and be like, okay, I can be comfortable right now. But you're like, I kind of like that. Like that was kind of a little dopamine hit, you know?
Well, I guess the trick then becomes every day you say, be uncomfortable today, and then you can be comfortable tomorrow.
Totally. And it's not from a book or something. I know somebody said that, but like basically do one thing that scares you every day.
Oh, yeah.
And like whatever trick you have to play on your mind, honestly, I think it's what creates the most progress, because like we were saying, the successful people and the people you're looking up to, the entrepreneurs, the creators, whoever you're looking up to, it's good to remember that they are feeling exactly like you. It's even if that's not true, again, just another mental trick. What if they feel exactly how I feel, but you saw them still make a post today? You saw them still put out their product. You saw them still do all these things that you're afraid to do because you're like, but I have this feeling and I don't know, and I have these people around me. Like, what would they do, kind of thing? Like, just think in that like higher self, like that version of you who's already mastered it and who's done it before, because that's what you need to start embodying. And right now that person or that version of you is uncomfortable, and that's why you're not them. But that was really helpful for me, is like, you know, in a more, I guess, like positive light, you can look at it like, I want to be this dream version of myself, this dream person. And what does she do, or what does he do? And when you list it out, it's probably going to be very uncomfortable. Maybe they work out every day. Maybe they are at networking events. Maybe they're speaking on stages. Those things are uncomfortable, but yet we dream of them, like, oh, I wish I could do that. You can. You just have to choose to think and behave like that person now, which is uncomfortable, which is why a lot of people stay in the situation they're in, because again, they know the answer. They just don't choose to do it because it's uncomfortable. And I think when you start choosing those uncomfortable things, you do really propel yourself ahead of most people, because most people don't want to do uncomfortable things. And if you are doing the things that no one else wants to do, you're probably getting the opportunities that other people don't get. So if your dreams are big, if you're ambitious and you're super driven, you probably have a lot of like high standards for yourself and a lot of high standards of what your life looks like. And to have those high standards comes with a price, and that is usually discomfort. And, you know, it doesn't end there. It does pay off. You do get the results that other people don't get when you do this. So I feel like it's 100,000% worth it.
Yeah.
You know,
you just said it well. Do the things no one else wants to do.
Yeah.
So what does that look like?
Yeah.
In reality, like what are some key examples from your experience?
Yeah.
And things that you're seeing from other people?
Yeah, I feel like my number one thing is kind of like what I mentioned. There's plenty of things that I did in the process. 2 to 3 years ago, I was always scrolling, pretty envious of people who were creators, entrepreneurs, but yet I wasn't doing anything in my day-to-day life that resembled those people that I looked up to. So I knew that my first step towards discomfort was going to be changing my lifestyle, like 180. So for me, that was like my environment. It was like, okay, I need to sort of like cut off everything of the old life and move closer towards a new life. And let me just say, this is as random as it sounds. Like it will feel as random as it sounds. Maybe not, but like it was kind of like a day I just like kind of woke up and I was like, I don't want this. Like I want to be where I want to be. I'm tired of like looking at people who have the life I want. I want to be a part of the crowd. And it was a bit random, but I feel like what really sparked it was leaving situations. I feel like my best always comes when I leave a job. Like something usually happens positively after that. This in 2020, this is when I left my corporate job. That was like a boring tech job that like I feel like was holding me back from the creative side, which is so funny because now I'm like all creative. And then in 2023 was it when I left Terawatt, my freelance client. Yeah, right. 2023. Yep. I left my biggest and only freelance client at the time to really pursue my own thing. Like I was like, okay, they actually, thankfully, they had let me go in a way. So I was like, wait, this might be my sign, because I was already thinking about taking my stuff seriously prior. But I left that situation. I was like, great, I'm not going to get another client. I'm not going to keep staying in that mediocre middle. So I decided that year to be like, okay, I'm going to just start calling myself a creator. I'm going to start calling myself an entrepreneur, even though I don't really know what I want to sell. I don't really know what I want to make content about. I just started making things and posting them. And I think once I had that like label in my brain, I was like, okay, what do they do? What does a creator do? What does an entrepreneur do? They sell products. They post content every day. I, at the time, had no idea what the strategy, long-term goal was. I had thoughts, right, that are now looking back very incorrect. But I think I just was like, let me just move, like keep going. I remember this was like my first business, my consulting business. I just started to like come up with a package of like what I'm going to sell to clients and how I'm going to help consult them with their social media. I came up with a boot camp. I started getting people to test it. So I kind of did that right. Even though I was very misinformed of like how business actually worked. I think I just was moving. I was just like, I don't know what to do next. Making mistakes fast. And then I think in 2024, it was like, okay, now that I'm starting to like get into this lifestyle, I'm starting to see that it requires a different version of me. And that's where I really started to change like all of the details around my life. So who I was talking to, what I was talking about with these people, what I was consuming, whether that was on, YouTube or TikTok or like whatever, just sort of like shifting the things that I consume, because that impacts you so much. Like when you are in charge of being the creative mastermind behind your content and executing it, you don't have time for limiting beliefs or doubts or comparing yourself. So I started to change what I consume. I started to change what I do. So this was starting to exercise more, read books, journal, like just really get to know myself on a deeper level so that I could put that out there to the world. And then I feel like I feel like I kind of stopped anything I used to do, which was consuming a lot, whether that was like shopping or eating out or hanging out all day on the weekends. Like I stopped doing all of those things, and I just started to think like, what would my future self do? Like, what would she be into right now? What kind of exercising does she do? She does yoga. I started doing yoga. Like I just started guessing and taking action, and all of those little areas of my life started to come together.
Okay.
So
there were two key things.
Mm-hmm.
So your discomfort was first and foremost like quitting your corporate job.
Yeah,
like,
that was a big one.
That was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
At this point. And then that's kind of happened
multiple times
in different context situations.
Yeah.
But then the second thing was starting to do things that you envisioned your future self doing that
mm-hmm.
would do.
Mm-hmm.
And those were uncomfortable in that, like, doing yoga is uncomfortable.
It was
like
very
going to Pilates is uncomfortable. Like working out is uncomfortable, or like eating healthier is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not just like any random discomfort. It's like
focused discomfort.
Like, it's kind of seeing what your future self looks like and then pursuing that.
I feel like we have answers. Like we have a lot more answers than we give ourselves credit for, because a lot of this did not come from like, sure, I could look at what other people are doing, like people I want to be like, and I do think that's also helpful, but they're different people. They're different from you. So I kind of use that as inspiration. Like the people I watch and look up to, they exercise, they read books, they do these things, but ultimately it was like, who do I want to be in like 20 years? Like the woman I want to meet and be like, whoa, she's like radiating. What did she do? And you usually have a good guess of like what you end up wanting to do. Anytime you say to yourself, I wish I could do that, or I wish that sounds so cool, those are probably hints towards the things you should be doing. You're just, you don't want to because you're comfortable. And a big part of that too was not giving in to my old life, because once you choose the new life, you have temptation for the old life. Like during this process, I was getting like client leads still, like people wanted to work with me and do social media managing, things I'd done in the past, or freelancing, things I'd done in the past. But I had to be like, no, I'm committed to this new version of myself. She does not do this, even if it's temporary, because I ended up freelancing a little bit later. But like, I feel like by then I was a little bit more solidified in the new person I wanted to be. So I had to actively fight old conversations, old limiting beliefs, old clients or old jobs that were like they were comfortable, because it was like, oh, that's some nice extra cash, or that is more familiar, or maybe that makes more sense. But it's actively choosing that discomfort every single day, in a more fun version of that for me was just thinking of like, what does my dream self do?
Yeah.
Because it was like, it was more motivating to be like, okay, if I take the extra time to do my skincare, I'm getting closer to my, you know, dream self, you know?
Yeah.
So, and what about you?
Yeah, for me, the biggest activity was like the biggest version of discomfort was putting myself out there.
Yeah.
So when I was in grad school, whether this was like raising my hand every semester to give like a public talk to the whole department, or doing that when I was working at Toyota, like raising my hand anytime there was an opportunity to do like a public speaking thing, because I've gotten better over time, like over the past 5 years, but I used to be very bad at communication, and I'm still actively trying to get better and better at communication. But that was like a major weakness, pain point. And so it was very uncomfortable for me. So that's why I pursued it. And another version of this was starting to post content actively. So I was posting about like different like technical ideas in data science and AI. I was writing blogs. I was making YouTube videos. And that was a big like uncomfortable thing because like I already was so busy. I was a research assistant. I was a TA. I was taking classes in grad school, adding on top even like more work and recording videos
and
of
that's
myself.
communication heavy.
Yeah, and that's also communication.
Yeah.
But that like I'm so grateful that I started so early because my content unlocked so many opportunities, opened so many doors for me. You know, like when I started doing freelance, that was a major reason why clients wanted to talk to me, because I could showcase my skills through YouTube videos that I would send them in my proposals. When I left Toyota to go out on my own, I was getting a steady flow of inbound like discovery calls, inbound leads when I was doing AI consulting. And that was because of my YouTube videos. Like 80% of people would watch a video and then book a call with me. And now I have a class where I teach people AI, like a live class. Most of my leads come from my content efforts. They come from my blog. They come from my YouTube channel. So like the foundation of how I get customers today was from me 5 years ago, just deciding to post that first blog, post that first YouTube video.
I think in a nutshell, it was sort of like a couple of things that we've done that I really feel like made us comfortable with discomfort, which is, you know, kind of the goal. Is like you want to get actually very comfortable with it, like used to those feelings. Right. One is putting yourself out there before you're ready. So for me, like I started posting content without a strategy, without knowing what I was going to talk about or what my like big personal brand was going to be, what my name for everything was going to be. It was just kind of like moving, just doing things, without knowing all of the context or the bigger picture, which was very hard for me, I think, in the beginning, because I was very perfectionist. I wanted everything to be perfect, but I think I am more impatient than I am a perfectionist, so it kind of works out in my favor. But that kind of leads to my second thing, was like taking the action and doing it swiftly. I feel like you have to move faster, because in a situation where we have two people taking action and one is faster, I feel like they are always going to win. Like 9 times out of 10, they're going to win because they're learning 10 times faster than you are. If you are slower, you're just taking your time to be more nitpicky about things, because as you'll probably come to find out very soon, starting your entrepreneurial journey, whether you are building a community or a product or an audience, whatever it is, you will see how most of your efforts are immediate failures. It's like, especially in content, this comes up very fast. Like you will put your mind and soul into a piece of content and it'll flop faster than you could have thought of the idea. Like it's so quick. And I think the faster you can put things out, whether that is yourself, whether that is your piece of content, like whatever it is, you will start to see what actually matters, what actually doesn't matter, what works, what doesn't work. So putting things out fast is a huge piece. And then it's comfort with discomfort. So like rewiring your brain to like the comfort instead of not.
Like the discomfort, you mean?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Rewiring your brain to like the discomfort instead of not. And I think that's a big piece, because when you are in those moments, like we could be saying this now, like, oh yeah, that's great. Like, I'm going to work out tomorrow. You know, I'm going to do this thing. And
I'll
like,
be uncomfortable tomorrow.
you know, I'll be uncomfortable. I'll do it, like whatever. And then you get there and then you're like, man, I could really use a cheeseburger right now.
Ooh.
Or I could really just have like, you know, I could really use a scroll right now. Or, you know, I really don't want to talk about my ideas right now. Like in this big group, I don't feel comfortable. You're going to be in those moments where all this stuff is going to go out the door. You're going to be like, fuck that. I'm going to do what's comfortable right now because I'm not trying to handle this. Maybe tomorrow. And just remember in those moments, think about separate yourself from your thoughts for a second and be like, this is normal. This is okay. This is supposed to happen. Like, normalize those feelings. Like, there's times where I'm like, I really don't want to do this right now. Or like, I'd really rather do this. And I'm like, that's okay. You can think all of those things. Like, you can 100% feel cringe. You can feel upset. You can feel sad. You can feel this. Do it anyway. And like, I think when you start to, in those moments, start to be aware of what's happening and normalize what's happening and still act anyway, the next time you're uncomfortable, that's not going to prevent you from making the action because you're so used to it. It's kind of like, I don't know, I like the closest thing I can think of, like girls, like we get our eyebrows done and we get our nails done, our hair done. And a lot of times those appointments are like painful. They're not like all fun and cutesy, but in the moment where you're getting your freaking eyebrow waxed off or like somebody's like inflicting pain on you, you're not like, stop, get off me. You're just, you normalize it because you're like, I know this is painful, but the results are worth it.
You're like preparing yourself.
You prepare yourself and you don't get up and slap the lady who's doing it to you. You just sit through it because you know the result is worth it. And that's the same thing you have to do in those moments where you're feeling cringe, where you feel like a loser, you think everybody's laughing at you. Like, you still have to do it. That's not going to stop you. So it's like rewiring those moments of discomfort and making them feel comfortable, if that makes sense.
I think that was really well said. I was just going to add like one more specific example of like uncomfortable things. So another big one was reaching out to people for mentorship calls. And usually it's really hard to get people to do free calls with you. I think I did it maybe a couple of times. I was able to get someone to talk to me. But like the best hack was paying people to talk to me. Yeah. And there are like websites like Intro and things like that. But the most effective hack that I found for the hack seekers is I just went on Upwork and I looked at like the most successful data science freelancers on Upwork and I just booked a consultation with them because a lot of people have like that just book a call option on Upwork. And so like I've talked to like maybe 15 or 20 people from Upwork that, and like even today, like these are still my friends. Like I just talked to one of them yesterday. They've taken my course. They've given talks in my community. They've been guests on my podcasts. And so, but I had to overcome two pieces of discomfort. One was like the discomfort of like reaching out to a stranger and asking them to like talk to me and like preparing questions and all this. And
like a
stuff.
Stranger you probably like respect.
Like they're ahead of me. I want to be like them. Like they are full-time freelancers and like they can support themselves without like a full-time job. And then the second thing is like just paying someone money, like some people, like maybe some people were like $50 for half an hour, but then other people were like $150, $200 for half an hour. The most I paid was $350 for half an hour. But every time I get like way more return on the investment. So it's just like, and then the more you like do these uncomfortable things, the easier it becomes to do the uncomfortable things, especially when you start seeing the positive benefits of them.
Exactly.
Most people, if you like say, hey, why don't you pay this person like to talk to you about mentorship, like they're going to be so against it for like probably those two reasons I just said. Like one, it's like scary to reach out to strangers, and two, is like, why would I pay someone money to talk to me? Yeah. Things like that. So like, it's just like, again, like these are so many, you have to rewire your brain so much because getting to your end goal, your end destination isn't just like going down a journey, like a physical path you have to travel down. It is a psychological journey of you really have to become a new person.
Literally.
You have to rewire your brain. And because if you were a person who was capable of achieving that goal, or who had achieved that goal, you would already have that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So who you are and your personality is strongly connected to the life that you're living.
100%.
And so if you want a fundamentally different life, you may have to become a fundamentally different person. And of course, like, some things are going to stay the same. But you have to be willing to let go of a lot of perspectives and beliefs that are not compatible with the person you want to become and the life that you want to have.
Yes. I like the beliefs aspect is huge, because a lot of times our beliefs do keep us comfortable. I mean, that is kind of like
human nature is to be comfortable.
Yeah, human nature is to be comfortable, but like beliefs in general just keep us sane. Like having a belief, so you don't have to make so many decisions. So your brain holds on to beliefs very tightly, obviously, because, you know, it gives you structure to your mind and what you're doing every day. And it can be a very positive thing. Like you can have a very positive belief that produces a lot of action in your life, but you can also have a very limiting belief, and letting those go are very difficult. I had this internal belief somewhere in my brain or my mind that I just was not cut out to be a creator who could grow an audience. And I didn't think that I didn't think it was super deep until I read a book called Mindset, which if you want to learn how to move towards discomfort, this book will enlighten you. But I read a book called Mindset, and I started to see how a lot of my beliefs were keeping me comfortable and safe, but they were 100,000% against the person that I wanted to be. Because how could I be somebody who wants to grow an audience, have impact on people, but I simultaneously believe that I can never grow an audience? Something's wrong with me that I can't grow an audience. And we have a lot of these beliefs that are contradictory to the life we want, and they impact our actions. And I didn't see how that was impacting my actions. But when I believed that, and when I recited that thought in my head when things didn't work out, I would self-sabotage. I would not look into the details or the analytics or try to learn or be curious as to how I could get better as a creator, because internally I was like, see, I knew it. Like, I'm not meant to grow. I'm not meant to have an audience. And when you are spending time doing that, what are you not spending time doing? Getting better as a creator. And it is directly linked. So your beliefs are a big part of how you act and behave in the world. So if you have anything that's limiting you or opposite or contrary to your goals, I would work on detangling those and being like, where do they come from? One, does it serve me? Two, and if it doesn't, how can I start to change this belief over time? A lot of times changing your beliefs comes through evidence. And when you do something over and over and over again, you start to develop that confidence in that thing. And this is like that new uncomfortable thing. And then when you have that evidence that you continuously do something that's hard, your beliefs start to change, because you're like, oh, well, how can I be bad at content when I work at this every day, whether it's comfortable or not. I have results of people, my audience growing, my posts doing well. Like those beliefs start to fade and get replaced with the new ones based on what you're currently doing. What is it? Like Hormozy always says, like, outwork your self-doubt. Yeah. So I think in those situations that helps a lot with self-doubt, limiting beliefs, kind of similar, like just keep doing the uncomfortable thing until you've proved to your brain otherwise. And I think that literally rewires your brain. So that's kind of how we've done it in our lives and what, has really worked for us. But I feel like this can look so many different ways. Yeah. Essentially, you're just learning and getting better and getting more experience as fast as you can. And that is uncomfortable. Like, in most regards, one, learning is just uncomfortable in general. Like if you're truly learning something, it's uncomfortable. But two, if you're getting experience and you're getting it fast, it's going to feel heavy. It's going to feel like a lot, but that's just how we process and that's how we learn and get better. So, what are all the ways that this can look as an entrepreneur, like an early entrepreneur just getting started, maybe hasn't even left their job yet? Just like, how can you start making yourself more uncomfortable?
So the first thing that jumps to mind is like going to events. So, there's actually a lot here. So going to events is a big one because like
Yeah.
no one wants to
No one goes to
go
events.
to events. Even like live, like virtual events.
Yeah.
You know, people don't want to do it, which is just like an easy way to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Like, I guess I've done these, but just to give some other examples, like I started a Discord community. Like there was a lot holding me back, and I feel like there was a lot of holding other people back of like starting a community like this, but just like doing it anyway was like really valuable. So like it's starting like a Discord community. I started putting on events. I started a podcast. Like, so it's just like different versions of like starting the thing that is uncomfortable, like doing it anyway.
Why was that uncomfortable for you, like starting the community and everything? Just because it was like a time commitment?
It's just work, you know, it's
more
energy.
work.
Like once you like commit to something and you announce it to the world, it's like now you have this
It's like
social pressure
accountability.
and you got to do it.
Yeah.
So there was, and another big one for me was like starting a newsletter, even though like there's so much value in a newsletter if you're an entrepreneur. But ultimately the common thread through all of them is that like I didn't want to do it. Like there was some resistance,
Yeah.
but just doing it anyway. And yeah, maybe it's not going to be a long-term thing. Like maybe it was a mistake, but the biggest mistake is not doing anything. You know, you want to make mistakes rapidly because that's how you learn, and at the beginning you know nothing, so the goal should be to make as many mistakes as possible to learn as fast as possible.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of those things that you started, looking back, I'm like, that didn't make any sense, or that was not a good long-term play, but it's not really supposed to be. If you are this driven person, you have a lot of energy, you don't know where to expend it. So a lot of times if you're not starting that thing that even might be a mistake later, you're probably just using it like scrolling,
just
or wasting time.
You have the energy anyway.
Yeah, it's there. It's like, what would you rather do it? Go have it be towards a project where maybe it fails in the next week or two or the next month, but at least you've learned something that you can apply to the next project, or waste it on a Netflix movie about an entrepreneur. You know, like that's the kind of stuff I would kind of justify. I'm like, well, I'm going to watch this stuff. I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're only doing those things that are comfortable, then you're not getting the experience that you need. Like all of those supplementary things that you consume, like books or whatever, should be supplementary to the action you're doing. Like I'm still building my community, I'm still making my content, and I'm reading a book about it, and I'm watching a YouTube video on how to do it. Like these things should be in motion at the same time. I think the most obvious one is like content because I feel like content has helped us so much in our life. Like even just starting this podcast, you guys know that we start things very fast and dirty, and we are still figuring things out along the way, very much figuring things out along the way. But content is a really good way to do that because it's free. You don't need anything but yourself to do it. You just need your phone. And if you're watching this, you probably have a phone. Like you don't need anything really to get started except just that, like, okay, this might be uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I think as an entrepreneur in this day and age, like it's coming. Like, I don't know. I mean, not that you have to have a personal brand as an entrepreneur, but like, I think it really helps solo early founders because you don't have the ad budget. You do not have all this funding. So you kind of showing up as the face, or just even if you're not literally the face, you're just videoing something. You're putting pictures up. You're doing something to put your stuff out there and help people see it. It helps you so much because reach is free for the most part. I mean, unless you pay for additional, but like TikTok, YouTube, like all of these platforms have just this built-in reach. So it's like, why wouldn't you try, you know? So I feel like content.
No, that's the biggest thing. I was talking to a successful entrepreneur on my podcast, and he was saying like the most important thing is distribution. And what that means is basically having your product, service, your message, and distributing it to your audience in an effective way. So knowing how to reach eyeballs, get eyeballs on your product or service is essential no matter what business you have. And I feel like content is a great activity to do to help you learn how to do that, or just do the thing itself. Like maybe you're going to be using your YouTube channel or your blog as the main way you sell your product or service. Or worst case, you just learn how these platforms work.
Yeah.
So, and you learn a lot of skills that will help you reach your customer when the time comes.
Exactly. It's really good for testing. And like you're saying, worst case scenario, you just learn how those platforms work, because eventually you are going to need a social media, whether you're the one doing it or someone else is. And you knowing how it works to manage that person who is managing your accounts and stuff is going to be extremely helpful, because marketing, I feel like, is where a lot of companies waste money. But I think it teaches you so much about your customer, about your product, what catches people's attention, because there's that built-in reach. You can test so many things, whether that is your messaging, whether that is your angles, how you present things. Like, it matters no matter what. So it's like that just gives you a free way to do it and start. And it can be simple. Like, content can be simple. You can put text on a B-roll. You can just film yourself at your desk. Like, there's so many ways to do it. You start a podcast. You don't even have to show your face. Like, there's so many different things. And even if you're someone who's like, I don't have a product or a service, I don't really know what I want to do, I just know I have energy, put that energy into content, because it can help you learn how to package things. Because when I started posting content, it wasn't that I knew what I wanted to sell or even the person I wanted to serve. I didn't really know what I was trying to do. I just knew I had energy to express. So that literally came through with like, I want to talk about this product, which is not crazy given like I want to make products now and I make videos for brands for a living. So it's like, it's all connected. But at the time I was just like, I like these products, I want to talk about them. And I was starting to interact with people. People would comment and I would be like, oh, I think I kind of have a knack for like talking about products. And then eventually I would talk about my ideas, and I have a lot of ideas because you're listening to this podcast. And then people were like, oh, I really like your idea. So you start to get feedback, which is really, really good for testing, experimenting, product development, branding. It's good for everything. It's just getting feedback. Because I think that is the biggest con with comfort. You don't get real feedback from the world, which is extremely dangerous for entrepreneurs, You have something to say.
No, I couldn't. Well said. I couldn't have said it.
Couldn't say it better myself.
Exactly.
And then I think another version of putting this energy into something that is useful is like working. Like, put yourself to work. Like, I know you might have your 9-to-5 job. You might be in a freelance situation that you don't necessarily love, but there's always that free time. There's always before work. There's always after work.
Yeah.
Put it towards the work you want to be doing. I know people are like, I don't know how to get a client or whatever. Make it up. Make up your project. Like,
use ChatGPT to brainstorm.
Use ChatGPT. Like, you can make shit up and just do it, and people will see that you're really good at that. I love when I see people making mock projects of what they want to do for companies or what they make up a problem like in their head, and they're like, okay, this client has an issue with X, Y, and Z, and this is how I would solve it. And then they can use their skills, whether that's Adobe or coding, or like they use what they know and like they just show off what they already want to show off.
A really good one was like people who do those short editings, like TikTok edits. They would reach out to you and they would take like a huge podcast that everyone knows and they would make shorts out of them. Like, they would do an edit and then that would be their portfolio. And so like that's smart.
I mean, I think it's genius. Not that I hire them all the time or at all, but I think it's really smart. We get a lot of, like, I don't know if all content creators get it, but I feel like a lot of them do. You start to get messages from editors people who like can edit your short form videos, they can edit your long form videos, and they'll literally email you with, sometimes they take your own stuff and they make a short form for you, and they just say, hey, I do video editing, this is some work I've done, and they'll show you an example. They'll be like, I'll do your first one for free. That's another point. I think just putting that energy into like some kind of output is so useful, because you can't wait around for the life to present you with the opportunities. Sometimes you have to force those opportunities. And I know a lot of people are very against like working for free or, being the intern energy, but I think it's very valuable. You always learn from projects. If you're actually coming in with intention to do something and do it well, you will learn something. You're never at a loss, don't do it forever, but do it until you have a good understanding, because that work that was free could be used to like for actual paid work. Like a really good example of this was like whenever I was posting about these random products, right? I remember posting about this brand that I loved at the time. And I was like, I love all their stuff. I was talking to my best friend about it. And she's just like, is this an ad right now? Like we were on FaceTime and she's like, is this an ad right now? I'm like, no, I like just genuinely love this product. Like it's so good. She's like, you should make a TikTok about it, because it sounds like you're selling me on this thing. I made a TikTok about it. I think I tagged the brand, or maybe I didn't. They reached out to me and were like, hey, can we boost your video? And we'll pay you like, you know, at the time it was like $200. I mean, first of all, I love the brand. They wanted to pay me $200. They wanted to send me more product on top of that. And I was just like, yeah, sure. And at the time I didn't really understand what was going on there, but that was like kind of the beginning of me realizing that I could talk about brands and get paid to do that. Not necessarily because I didn't have a big audience at the time. So it wasn't like, I knew that obviously influencers did it, but I didn't know that there was ways for me to make money from it with somebody like, I think at the time I had like less than 1,000 followers. And I didn't even think this whole like ad business, content creation, UGC stuff was like such a big deal. And now that's something I still do to this day, like to make money. And it's like, if I had been sitting on that energy, it wouldn't have turned into real paid things. Or if I'm like, I'm not going to make a video for free. I see people say that a lot of times with no audience. They're like, I'm not going to do this for free. They have to pay me. They've never seen your work. How would they know to pay you if they've never seen what you could do? So I'm a big advocate for free work in the beginning, especially when you don't have experience, because you learn a lot or you get paid in the process. So it's never a loss. Another way this could look is literally just setting up your own website, like just making a website. Even if you feel like I don't have anything to say or I've never done anything cool, set up a website, set up a portfolio of work you've done in the past. You've done something, whether it was a school project, because one, if you want a freelancer skills, this is number one. So just getting that on paper is already a great after work activity.
I would say like on the balancing with work, one thing I did that worked really well is like carving out 2 hours, 90 minutes before work starts. Yeah. Like getting up a little early. Like for me, the first meeting wasn't until like 9 or 10 or something like that. So if I could work, like I could start work at 7, work on my stuff, and then start working on when I was had my full-time job. I would start working at 9 for my full-time, and then there was like an hour for lunch, and I would work on my stuff as well. Nice. Because I feel like a lot of times at the end of the day, you're tired. You don't necessarily want to work. So I feel like the mornings are so precious. Like reserve that for your stuff, and then do your employer stuff after. It's
just another nod to like just choosing the uncomfortable thing, even though you'd rather sleep.
Yeah, get up early, do your stuff, and then do everything else.
Everything else, and then you mentioned events. I think that's great. Like showing up, because people don't show up. Like sign up for the event and actually show up. You'll be surprised what opportunities are available. Sometimes they're not anything, but you never know which event you're going to meet the person or meet the thing or meet the whatever that gets you to the next step. And then I know you mentioned like coffee chats and like reaching out to people. I think now we're just in the age where you can do that digitally. But you know, there's the sky is the limit when you are on your own, or even starting the life of being on your own. You don't have to think in terms of like, oh, life has such a hierarchy, and to talk to this person I need to do this, and I feel like that's very corporate. I used to think in that way, like, oh, you can't just ask people for stuff, you can't just like, you know, go up and talk to people. But like the real world is not like that. Whoever opens their mouth first and is louder about it gets fed. So like you have to follow up with people, like ask them, you know, get their attention. I mean, be genuine. You don't want to be a shark in a way that like is, you know, undesirable, but like open your mouth and ask and express that you care about people's stuff. Like comment on their things, support them, share their stuff, like follow their things. If you really want to talk to them or get to know them or be in their circle, like there is no limit other than the ones that we put in our head. So I think just opening your mind to all the possibilities and trying it. If it doesn't work, try something else. You know, like I've tried DMing people and they never respond, or I try like, engaging with them and everything. And you just get the vibe. If they're into it, they'll kind of, reciprocate. If they're not, maybe you find someone else. You just keep going. There's never, the limits are not real.
Yeah.
They're not real.
So I guess to recap, to summarize, the central point is to just go toward discomfort. And there can be a lot of different versions of that, but it basically boils down to just like putting yourself out there, doing the things that no one else is doing, and just doing it anyway. It could be as simple as just like reaching out to people to talk to you. Could be making a portfolio website, could be posting that first piece of content, or it could be as extreme as what Iffy did and quitting
your job. It's just one action in the right direction.
Yeah. And then once you do that, then you take the next action, and then you just keep doing that. And even if you're doing really small, uncomfortable things every single day, they're going to build on top of each other into huge results over time. It
does. It compounds so much. Like you don't even realize, like, and now that I know that, it makes doing uncomfortable things so much easier. Cause I'm like, okay, I've seen the benefit. I'm like, I suck at this right now. I'm so uncomfortable. I'm so sweaty doing this thing right now. But I know that give it like 5 days even, or like a week or 2 weeks, I'm going to feel so much better about the same thing that I'm terribly afraid of, uncomfortable with. I'm going to feel 10 times better in just 2 weeks time. Why not? Who cares? And it becomes less and less and less. But when you haven't done it before, you're not comfortable with discomfort, it feels so big and scary. The more you normalize it, the more you stay away from it because you think you should be afraid of it. But if you do anything today after listening to this, do something that scares you, do something that feels uncomfortable, and see how you feel. Come back to the episode and let us know. Like, I'm curious and I want to see those transformations in y'all's life because they've been huge in our life. So if you guys found this helpful, be sure to share it with a friend, send it to your sister, send it to your best friend, send it to your team if they're about it. And follow us on Spotify and YouTube. This is where we drop our episodes, and we cannot wait to talk to you next week.
Niche. While you were sitting around doing niche, I was out making moves. Working. Did you say that? Is your mic too high?
I don't know. You tell me.
Is it blocking your face?
This latte is good.